question that gets asked a lot is how do we move the buildings? You know, most people haven't seen a building moved or know how we go about it, and they're also concerned about us being able to get the building into their yard and not um, hit their home or any other buildings that they have or create any damage or things to the property. That the equipment that we use is very specialized and it's all hydraulic, and so we can literally move our equipment as slow as what we need to, 1 inch at a time. We can safely move the buildings, and in the event that someone doesn't know whether we can fit a building in or not, or just doesn't feel comfortable in making that decision themselves, I will do a free site evaluation where I'll come to their home and look and see where they want to have the building placed and see what issues or concerns there would be, if any. But we're very conscientious of being able to get the buildings in and set without doing any damage to their property. A lot of times people worry about their grass with the buildings. Standard sizes that most homeowners use, we're able to move those buildings across the lawn and not put any ruts or gouges in the lawn or anything. It's almost like when you push a wheelbarrow across the lawn, you can see the track where the wheelbarrow is gone. That's about what you see with the buildings when we're done. But in the event that someone is concerned and wants us to take that extra precaution to make sure that we can safely move the building across the lawn, we do have dollies that we can put on the shed so that the shed on one end would be on the dollies, and then on the other end would be our mule, which is kind of a forklift contraption that's 3 feet wide, 5 feet long, that we can use to maneuver the building. So we can use the dolly so the entire building is on wheels, so that we can roll it back to where they want to have it placed. As far as sprinkler heads, when the driver gets there, he looks at where you want the building placed first before he even unloads it, to get an idea of what he's going to need to do to be able to move the building. And if you have sprinkler heads that you're concerned about, you can either circle them with paint beforehand so they stand out, or just point out to them where your sprinkler lines are, sprinkler heads are, and things, and he'll be able to maneuver the building so that we're not causing issues with those. Affordability, I'm not biased when I say this, but I feel like Old Hickory prices their buildings at a good price point. Before I started working for Cache Valley Sheds over 10 years ago, the very first thing I did is I went and looked at sheds myself and compared them to Old Hickory's buildings and how they put the buildings together and things. And at the time, and even now, 10 years later, I still haven't found a building that is put together as well as what Old Hickory's is, with the quality of materials that they use, because of the Mennonite craftsmanship and how they put the buildings together. They've taken out a lot of the band-aid issues that people typically have with their buildings that cause them to fall apart or not last. And for the quality and how the buildings are put together for that price point, you're getting a good quality building that you're not paying more than what's needed or what's necessary, because after all, these are sheds that they don't have to be built like Fort Knox in order for them to withstand and uphold what you need to use the building for. But at the same time, they do not cut corners, and with how they put the building together or with the materials themselves, they use the materials where they're designed to be used and things. So that combination, I feel like you're getting a good quality building for a good price. And these buildings, if you do the maintenance on the outside for them to have the weather protection they need, whether you choose a wood stained building or a painted building, as long as you restain and repaint them when they need to be, so that they have the protection coverage that they need. There's no reason that these buildings would last 50, 60 plus years without any problem. You spend the time and the money one time to pick out a building and purchase it, and you won't have to do that with you won't have to do that a second time. You know, these buildings are built to last.
Okay, hold that thought. I want to change the camera angle on this.
In finding a building here on the lot that they like, they always ask, well, can I get it in a different color? You certainly can. We've got roughly 8 to 10 colors that are standard colors as part of the standard purchase price. That if you like the style of building that's here on the lot but you don't like the color, we can place an order that we don't charge extra for to order the exact same building, but you can then choose the color that you want. Same with additional features. Sometimes people want to add additional windows, or they want a workbench or a shelf, or they want a different color roof that we can, in placing an order, we can set up the building the way that you want, where you can get those features, those add-ons, those upgrades, those colors that you want in the building, and where our lead time at the beginning of the summer versus the end of the summer always varies a little bit, but generally speaking, we're generally within a 2 to 4 week time frame to have a building built, and then it's just a matter of working it into our delivery schedule after that. So depending on what time of the year you're placing the order, it could initially fluctuate 1 to 2 weeks for us to be able to have the building built, just depending on what our workload is for the orders that are coming in. If you're working with buildings that are 28, 30 feet and longer, some of those longer buildings, it takes us an extra week to work with those buildings to get them built. And it's just because of their size and things. But if you're working with buildings that are 25 feet and less, then we're typically within that 2 to 4 week time frame, depending on what time of the year you're placing your order. In addition to being able to choose upgrades, features, colors, we do have occasionally people that want something that's a little bit more customized than just the features itself, and things that, like with our buildings that have porches and people turn those into cabinets and things, we can put in inside walls, framed in, like bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that, in addition to the other things that I've mentioned with upgrades and things. So we can do some of that customization to set the building up in a way that's going to work well for people. Sometimes people will take one building and use it as a dual purpose, where one side they'll use for like a tinkering shop or woodworking or craft shed or shoe shed part or man cave part, or just a utility section to be able to put lawn and garden tools in. But then the other side they would use for strictly home storage or for those other things that I mentioned, where you're getting two purposes out of one building. We can put that inside wall in to separate the two, have two separate door accesses to those and things. So we can do some custom building, customization to set up the buildings depending on what people are wanting. We're not general contractors, so it's not a question of if it can be done. It just generally comes down to, is Old Hickory willing to do it? Because they do have a specific footprint that they work within the buildings, but there is some customization that can be done, just depending on what it is that we're wanting. The best thing to do is to either come in and see me here at the shed office at 3875 US 91 in Hyde Park, or give me a call and let me know what it is that you're wanting to do with the building, and I can find out or clarify what we can do for you as far as the customization is concerned.